Space random. Is there any like faction rules in this? I don't think there is, right? I mean, there shouldn't be. It's a brand new patch. All the factions are balanced. Because, you know, I made them all perfectly balanced in R20. It's perfect. That's what those guys in the 4v4 were led to believe. But no patch is perfect, and this one, it's definitely not, but it's an improvement over what we had. Anyways, in the top of this map, playing as the orange Nod will be Rex. His ally over to the right-hand side will be Space as the yellow GDI, and Futurama and Eclipse will be playing as the Scrin and Black Hat, respectively. Not everyone needs to copy Cyber. You can just announce the players, show the player status screen, and tell everyone what they are. No need for a rehearsal here. But this is Pipeline Fusion, I believe. And it is essentially Pipeline Problem mirrored. There's even 2 mutant hovels right here to capture. To be fair, those aren't particularly useful. I don't know why they still exist. Maybe those could have been replaced with an EMP control center in the center, but then there is one on this map anyways, to the left and to the right. But it is, yeah, essentially Pipeline Nightmare Problem, but mirrored. I suppose you can mirror a lot of the vanilla maps and make them good. There's probably 1 or 2 more that's in the vanilla map selection, which you can maybe do the same with. Oh, in the middle there is some electricity pylons, maybe? I don't know what those are, to be fair. The polygon count is ridiculously low, so it's hard to make it out. Or either that, or it's for radar. Some communication tower or something. There's a GDI aircraft, though. Not sure what the name of that is, but it looks pretty badass. No 4K textures on that. Eclipse opting with Black Hand. Not a good faction the longer the game goes. Kind of telegrams to your opponent that you're going to be aggressive and you're going to do it probably a flame rush or a double team. That's why I don't like picking Black Hand. You're probably better off going Nod, because Nod rushes are less expected, like flame tanks. Even though the flame tanks are weaker because they don't have the veterancy on them, players will less likely expect to be flame rushed by Nod for that reason. I don't know, man. I'm not a particularly huge fan of vanilla Nod. A lot of players like to play it, but I find them very boring. They don't excel at anything. In fact, the vanilla factions overall are just not very fun for me to play. Scrin vanilla, GDI vanilla, Nod vanilla. There's nothing really extraordinary about them. I mean, they are what it says on the tin. They're vanilla. They're not great, or they don't specialize in something in particular. They're just overall a balanced faction. Also, my scroll speed's probably a bit too high, so I don't want to jar everyone. I'm just going to put this down to the lowest, because I noticed that I was a bit too fast in my previous YouTube video. I was watching it back, cringing at how much I was scrolling the map. But we have possibly a 2-war factory from Rex here. Is that Rex? Yeah. Is he 2-war factory? Yeah, he's got one there and presumably one back at base. And Eclipse will lose a harvester right away. Bite's getting cleaned up, but that was probably worth the trade. Eclipse does, however, get the Black Disciple online, which is great. It's going to significantly limit the damage that him and his ally now take from bike buggy attacks. That series I watched, Bike, Rush, and Bart Jones play, there was a severe lack of Black Disciples. So it's nice to see it here, because that's one of the major advantages of playing Black Hand. If you don't make use of this, then you may as well just go Nod. Other advantages with the Black Hand include the Purifying Flame, which is definitely an upgrade you should purchase. It is 1 minute 30 of your credits being consumed, but it's worth the investment. Great on purifiers. It even is functional with your Redeemer in the late game. Pretty much every flame unit benefits from that upgrade nowadays. Particle beams online, nice to see. Going to make these Cabals very good for panic cells when you're being attacked, but not going to be enough to hold this army of Scorpion tanks. Not upgraded with Dozer Blades yet for Rex. These tanks pushing in a bit too far forward for my liking. Is Rex making the right call here? He does upgrade Dozer Blades. That will allow the tanks to sustain 2 obelisk shot. Vane detonation comes down. Presumably that was by Eclipse. No, he wouldn't tip Vane his own field, would he? Yeah, he doesn't have a chemical plant down here. So I'm just going to assume that that was the one click of Rex. Rex taking up all the way to tier 4. And he's going to be making quick work of Eclipse over here. Eclipse going to get out his Redeemer. He will hold that attack. And how is Futurama, Eclipse's ally, doing? He's doing not bad. Space has his Marv out. Triple Zone Trooper. 1 Engineer. Think he made 1 extra near by mistake. Probably should V35 Ox that. Maybe take over the EMP Control Center. But it's hard doing all these things at once. You know, multitasking is a skill. There's always things you can do as a player, but you may be limited by your skill to doing only so much. As was the case with me. I had Elite Mecha Pete yesterday. I was like probably $10 away from it ranking up to Heroic, and because I had to place my refinery down, I completely forgot about it for a second, and then I lost it to a couple Predator tanks. So it's always a question of skill and APM and yeah, your ability to multitask if you're doing certain strategies. If you're controlling Nod units like Bike Buggy and Scorpion tanks, then your macro skill is very important. Quad turret is online. Nice to see. Looks like Eclipse has finally caught on to the fact that this is an upgrade that exists and doesn't desync the game. You need it because Particle Beam Shredder turrets are so much weaker without this quad turret upgrade. I've made it so you pretty much have to get this upgrade if you've got Particle Beams to have comparable DPS to 1.02. But yeah, Eclipse is coming in with some infantry, and Black Hand are very effective with these small infantry hit squads. They are very good. Like, from my experience, a handful of rockets and these Cabals can do a lot of damage. And this here, this chemical plant will fall. That's $1,500 worth of damage because Rex can't sell it off. You get that money. We heard something happen over here. Looks like the drone ship got sniped. Not sure by what exactly. Could have been Firehawks. There are 2 Vertigo bombers for Rex. Does get some damage dealt off on those tripods. It does just ping the shields off. You know what I'd like to see here? A couple planetary assault carriers just to act as meat shields for these Devastator warships. I don't like the idea of putting down a storm column here. Packs are better because they're mobile. They can reposition. It's better to make packs. No one builds packs enough. A critical mistake putting those 2 buildings together, but Futurama was gifted a lifeline because Rex, or no, sorry, he was playing as not, but yeah, that should have gone down. Those 2 buildings were very close together. Infantry still not cleaned up yet. Look how much damage those Black Hand troopers can tank. Redeemer moving forward for Eclipse. He has got himself out an epic unit. He's also recovered some eco over here as well. Harvest is trying to dock. That one will do so. No harvester bugging, which is nice to see. The only issues I see when it comes to harvesters is the fact that they dock sometimes in weird spots. But that's a trade-off for them not always getting bugged. Looks like the Vertigo bombers came in. They sniped 2 harvesters. Remember, Black Hand harvesters are not stealthed, so those are vulnerable to attack from the Vertigos. Black Hand definitely not favored to win in the late game versus Vanilla Nod for 2 reasons. Laser Scorps and the fact that they don't have stealth. It's a big deal, but infantry can be potent as long as they don't get killed by a cloaking field power, which is what Nod can use. That's one thing you guys have to be cautious about. We don't see it often nowadays, but cloaking fields can kill infantry. If players hop between 1.02 plus and 1.03, then they may forget that things like tripods, when phased, can crush, and the fact that cloaking field kills infantry, or the fact that tripods can crush when they're phased and stuff like that. So it's confusing if you've got a bunch of players who hop between patches, like Futurama, who plays a couple of patches. Speaking of Futurama, he's over here. He's got these tripods all clumped up. The Marv can't really hold this back. That Rage Gen, though, was absolutely vicious. Look how many units fell to that Rage Gen. Those tripods inflicted huge damage. Insane amount of damage, and their tripods will even walk through this mine drop. That army, which looked huge, just got completely annihilated by a Rage from Rex's Redeemer. Rex not garrisoned anything in that Redeemer, but this force now looks unstoppable. It's now up to Eclipse to bring this back. Does Eclipse have his Redeemer over here to return the favor? No, it doesn't look like it. The Rage Gen will be ready to go once more. Phase as well. Probably going to expire soon. It is 30 seconds now, so that doesn't last nearly as long as it used to. There we see the Hexpod comes out of that phase, and this army of Mammoth tanks looks unopposed. There's no mastermind. I would like to see a mastermind here just to capture one of the Mammoth tanks. It's a great thing to use. Nice EMP scores himself all of those units, but it's not gonna last long enough. The Mammoth is taking damage, but against this force, it's just not going to be enough. Mammoth tanks with their missile launchers should be able to deal with the Devastators. Yeah, look how much damage those Mammoth tanks deal. Over here on the left, Eclipse is making some progress, but there are laser Scorpion tanks. The Redeemer is exposing rear armor, but it should escape, albeit barely. It's up to Eclipse essentially, though, to take this game. Devastator warships there, trying to focus down these this Marv. The Marv barely lives. Firehawk sweep in and save the Marv from dying. And that's going to mean Futurama will quit the game. It's up to Eclipse, but I don't think he can do it. He loses his Redeemer, and that's going to be GG. So that's the problem with Black Hand. If you don't inflict early game damage, you're going to be in a disadvantageous position against the Nod factions. Behemoths, they are the best artillery unit in the game. They got 10% more hit points compared to the GDI Juggernaut, which makes them the best artillery unit in the game. The garrison slot isn't really noteworthy. I mean, you can put maybe a rifle or a rocket in there, but it's not going to do a whole lot, let's be fair. I was thinking of making the units de-garrison from the Behemoth after it's killed. So you know how currently the units die when the Behemoth is destroyed. I was thinking of making it evac inf, but then it would be inconsistent with the APC and the Hammerhead. So I left it for consistency's sake the way it is. It's garbage, but it's consistent. Consistently garbage. But it doesn't matter because Steel Talons have really nice Mammoth tanks now with that $3,000 railgun upgrade. The Titans have a much nicer geometry compared to before. You can get them into a nice tightly packed formation. Before, they were spaced out massively. You couldn't use them like you could, say, Predator tanks. They were very clumsy. Nowadays, they are less so. They're actually a pretty decent unit. They're almost like a main battle tank. There is obvious shortcomings with the Titan, the speed and the fact that it's a walker, which means when it's retreating, it will expose the side and rear armor. However, the Wolverine does not take rear armor damage. And I think the Titan has a very slight penalty to the rear armor, even in the vanilla patch. That was what EA did to address the Titan balance issues. So there are inconsistencies there, but when it comes to things like garrisons, it should all work the same. Behavior should be consistent, otherwise it's just going to descend into something like 1.03, where nothing makes sense at all. Like, for instance, beam cannons can't shoot up, but if it's a Devastator warship, it can somehow suddenly shoot at the sky and kill Devastators. But not if it's a Hammerhead. Not if it's a stationary Venom. No. It's only Devastators and packs, right? And I'm not talking about Reflector Beam. I'm just talking about the regular attack. They can literally shoot up at those units. I hate things like that. Anyway, up in the top of this map, we'll be playing as the yellow Steel Talons. It's going to be Space, and his ally on the left will be playing as the pink Skrin versus Futurama and Eclipse as Jedis, respectively. I do prefer the team composition of Space and Rex. Some Wolverines coming out. Stasis Chamber placed in Space's base for some reason. Maybe it's a good practice to drop a couple buildings in your ally's base, just so if there's like a base trade scenario, you're kept alive by the 1 or 2 buildings you left in your ally's base. It's a pretty good idea. I remember it from my Red Zone days. Yes, indeed, I did play Red Zone Rampage like 13 years ago. Wow, that's a long time ago. 13 years ago. But indeed, that's when I started to play Kane's Wrath. Saw some Green Zero VODs on Wii Game, and I got hooked into Kane's Wrath. I got into this game just as Green Zero was talking about 1.03, the community patch. So, I obviously did play in 2008, but back then you were spoiled for choice. You'd play Kane's Wrath for a month and then you'd play another equally amazing game, which came out then. Nowadays, you just play whatever's released. Whatever garbage comes out, you play just because it's something. I think RTS game quality now is significantly lower. And the worst part of all is the developers don't learn mistakes from the old games. Gunwalkers en masse, not very good for killing your opponent. I mean, there's Pred tanks out, man. What is Rex doing? Is this like the regular Gunwalker into tripod strategy from 2 Warp Spheres? Is that really what he's doing? Rex has a crane. I wasn't paying attention though. He sold off some buildings. Mammoth tanks out here for Rex, but those are being focused down. Remember, there is a significant reload time on those Mammoth tanks, 10 seconds to be exact, for the rockets to reload. So even though rockets were buffed by like 33%, I mean, they only fire every 10 seconds, so it's not very impactful. The best way to use Mammoth tanks is to probably try and use the rockets on them and then retreat and then engage again when you've got that weapon reloaded. Mammoth tanks probably work better when you use them in that way. Oh, nice interception though from Rex. Does snipe himself 2 Firehawks. Good kill, but the 2 Mammoth tanks that fell for space, I felt is pretty crippling because, yeah, Futurama over here has accumulated an army of juggernauts. Yeah, this army is practically unstoppable. There's only Gunwalkers still on this map. I'm presuming that the tech center was just being bombed continuously by Eclipse. Eclipse switching to the GDI was a smart play. Nice micro there from him. Does lift up the one that's being targeted. One of those Firehawks promoting to Veteran. And we're going to be going on to a 1-1 in this best of 11 series. So I think this is going to be a very balanced series. I mean, I didn't call it as when I saw the GG, but it's GG. There's just too much there. Unless there's like a mothership, nothing can really beat that army of jugs. So I was wrong. The GDIs came through. They did a great job of that. It remastered those old games, and the texture quality is great compared to how it was. I think they could do the same with Command & Conquer games, especially this and Red Alert 3. I can't see them... I just cannot see them doing generals, because the current geopolitical crisis in the world, I just can't see them making a game in 2023 that has China versus America. I just don't see it. I just don't see that happening in this day and age. So, but I mean, Command & Conquer 3 and Red Alert 3, I think they're good candidates. They could bundle those two up, and I'm pretty sure it would sell. The Red Alert 1 and Command & Conquer 1 sold, so the Sage games, if they made them 60 FPS, I'm pretty sure they would be selling. It would revive this game. Man, it would be a dream come true. Can you imagine that? EA one day announces that they're making a 60 FPS remaster of Red Alert 3 and Command & Conquer 3. Man, I would be we would be just ecstatic. It would be literally the best news ever, wouldn't it? But that's never going to happen. But, oh man, can you imagine that? I can't imagine that. It's never going to happen though, but it's not impossible. We would all like it to happen, but let's be real, it's not going to happen. So we got just mods. So we gotta make do with mods in this game and use all the scraps we can find to try and improve it. But yeah, down here in the bottom right of this map, Pandaria, right? This is the map. I remember doing the mini-map for Panda. But yeah, I don't take credit for the map. He did the map. Rex and Space will be playing as the Skrin and Steel Talons, while their opponents, Eclipse and Futurama, will be playing as GDIs again. I mean, if it worked, then why fix something that isn't broken? Great. Pandaria is probably a different map, so we got Pandora, and then Pandaria is a different one. But yeah, they're Panda maps for sure. This map gives me Forgotten Forest vibes. I think it's the... Was this built from Forgotten Forest, by the way? I think it's a retake on Forgotten Forest. It's just diagonal, right? It's Forgotten Forest, but the tip field locations were changed. Some terrain layout aspects were changed. There is little terrain difference though, isn't there? Yeah, good idea, taking an already successful map and just rejigging it. Guaranteed to be a success then. You know what? You should have imported some pandas from another game if they had like the panda animal. What we could do is we could import the ants from Red Alert. Just put them on the map. for the lols, you know. Not have them attack, just put them on the map in random places. Why not? Gunwalkers here will chase back these APCs. It's much easier chasing APCs compared to MRTs. MRTs are just hellacious to deal with. Just completely... really, really hard to stop, actually. I'm thinking of so many things right now. Steel Talons, great for the MRT pitbull push. I feel like you need AP ammo with GDI to make APCs truly a force to be content with. Maybe it's a good time to put down the reconstruction drones here. Just drop the reconstruction drones right there. And the Pred could probably focus down, and the pitbulls, if microed correctly, would probably not even die. A lot of drones get spawned with that support power. I'm not sure how many to be exact. I didn't check the files, but it's at least 15. You can repair 15 vehicles simultaneously with that screen support power. An amazing power. It is good for that Seeker push that we so often see on 4 Harvesters. Very oppressive some games. That's really the primary reason why Seekers never got a substantial buff, because of that push with the reconstruction drones early on. Because what happened is, if you buff the Seeker, then that early game push would just be even more lethal, and that's what you'd see mostly every game. But yeah, Skrin aren't supposed to be great at every tier. They're supposed to be a faction that is less effective, but they get more units because of their eco. They have support powers to generate eco. They have growth accelerators to increase the growth rate of Tiberium. They get all these means to generate more resources compared to their opponents to offset their less cost-effective units at tier 1, tier 2. Their main strength lies at tier 3. And that gives them their identity as a faction. But yeah. Eclipse coming through over here, absolutely destroying Space. Space probably going to fall here. He doesn't have a tier 3 to drop a sonic emitter. Yes, he does, but is once... No, he's Steel Talons, don't mind. He can't drop sonic emitters. He'll probably switch his faction after this game, after seeing Steel Talons not succeed. There's 4 tripods out, though. For Rex. Rex needs to do some pretty crippling damage, but the timing is unfortunate as the Marv does just pop out. Railgun's also upgraded for Eclipse. It's just a 1 rail Marv, but it's going to be enough to force back this army. APC. Mammoth tanks as well. Not upgraded with railguns. 3, 4 firehawks there for Space. Probably drop the tech center of what's his name here? I'm getting confused. Futurama. No, that's still alive. Oh man, he made the same mistake again. You don't want to put your buildings too close to one another if you can help it against a GI player. They're just going to get bombed by firehawks, because a pro player will literally target between both, and the splash will get both of those buildings. Marv is out though. 2 zone troopers, 2 engineers. Pretty balanced combo. Will give it the ability to heal up over time. And the damage output is nice with those 2 zone troopers. One of the best changes in R20 is the fact that this ability works all the time. I've never been stressed once with this. Harvesters work now, and the Marv just works. It just feels a lot better playing. You don't have to pray that your units work, because they most often do. Except when they don't, like that time yesterday where my GI Commando got suppressed by one rocket squad of Nod. That was like the dumbest thing I've seen in a while. GI Commando getting suppressed by a militant rocket squad. And I couldn't even get it out of suppression. I was pressing the force move key and I could not get that thing out. Every other inf unit I can get out of suppression. I think it has to do with the C4 charges, because when it gets out of suppression there, you can't force it out. It's stuck in that. But Space has accumulated a huge army of rockets and titans. No railguns, no anti-infantry either. Wow, can you imagine one commando here? Just one GI commando would kill this whole army. I'm not even kidding. That's all that it would... This whole army here would die to a singular GDI commando. Because commandos can also bomb titans as they're classified as walkers. Hexapod teleported to the front line just so he can get some nice resources. Resources still get generated when the Hexapod is phased as well. Didn't want to remove that because it would just be a bit over the top then. Screen gotta have some nice perks. Hexlame is significantly weaker than it used to be. Just due to the fact that you can't teleport on top of tier 3 units, crush them, and then subsequently jump out in like half a second. No, now you have to wait a second before your Hexbot can move, which gives your opponent time to micro his forces away from the Hex, which is fair because it's a bit dumb having a Hexapod jump on top of a Juggernaut with no means for the GI player to stop their Jugs from dying. And the EMP Grenadier speed was very slow too, so you couldn't even EMP responsively. That was the main issue with GDI against Hexlane. But this is a pretty huge army from both sides. I will tip it though to Eclipse. Again, like one GI commando would be amazing here. The unit's very underused. The GI Nod and Blackhand commandos should get used more often. They're very tanky nowadays. They're not compared to vanilla, where they just die to 1 or 2 riflemen with AP ammo, which literally was the case. Double team happening. Hard to say what exactly is happening. The Mastermind, though, right there will be quite useful, especially if it grabs the Mav tank that is on full health, which does indeed happen. And who's winning at the top? Looks like the army of tripods either got teleported by the Mastermind or destroyed. The Hexapod looked like that was killed. The remainder of this force will be taken out. And I think that's all the units that are left on this map. Did the Mastermind get destroyed? No, not quite. But Futurama does have the chance here to take out that Mastermind. Mastermind still lives, okay. But the Hammerhead, if one sweeps in, can take out this Mastermind. Mammoth tank there, full health Mammoth. Could grab that one there with the Mastermind. Is causing so many problems here. Rex needs to be careful though. Can't afford to make any micro errors with the few units that he currently does have. Rex also going to sweep up these zone troopers summoned in from the drop pod. No hammerheads yet to respond, but there's another wave of sniper teams to deal with this one Mastermind. The Mastermind that could think its days will be numbered soon though. These snipers have revealed themselves, so yeah, Rex knows what the deal is. More tripods will be reclaimed. There's still Juggernauts back there, but the thing is, Futurama, he has Does he have any forces left? I don't think he does, but nor does Space. There's just a handful of mammoth tanks left. The Mastermind will get some nice repairs. Did the sniper teams get destroyed? Yes, they did. Those must have been Miss Micro Sniper. Once again, this Mastermind. Oh my god. Oh my god, that was critical. That was a critical loss there. I don't think that Rex can rebuild that Mastermind. I don't know if he has his tech center alive. Looks like Rex does call the quit and exits this match. Futurama will squeeze out one more mammoth tank, but that was pretty close there. Rex was milking that Mastermind. He got a couple units, did a lot of work there. The sniper team's unable to deal with that unit. The Jedi Commando would have made that so much easier. There was barely anything there to counter a Jedi Commando. It is... we were really trying to win back then. Like we were finding anything and everything possible to win. It was fun. Grinded so many games versus Technique. It was definitely the most memorable time I've had playing this game. Anyways, in the bottom right corner of Ice Arena, we'll be playing as the GDI and Nod. It's going to be Futurama and Eclipse, and their opponents Rex and Space will be playing as Scrin and Nod respectively. So Eclipse and Futurama will be up 2-1 in this best of 11 series. Now, the key is it's a best of 11, so there's obviously ample room for coming back, but you don't want to fall behind like 3 or 4 games, because then you'll lose significant morale and you'll probably just play worse, which I've seen many a time. So I'm hoping that this series remains balanced and these games are back and forth. So as far as the teams go in this particular match, we've got a GDI and a Scrin and a Nod and a GDI. Sorry, I got that wrong. There's a Nod and a GDI and a Nod and a Scrin. What's a better faction to team with a Nod? That's an interesting question. I think Scrin is better overall because you can combine the stealth with the teleportation. I mean, Scrin is a fantastic faction late game. However, this does leave Rex vulnerable to the Firehawks because his ally is not a Jedi faction who can go Firehawks himself to cover the sky with, you know, AA on that missile loadout. So it's up to Space to ensure that the GDI player, which is Futurama, does not so easily take out that tech center. MCV taking huge damage though. Looks like the MCV did claim a bike. Maybe there was some splash damage there. And one of those bikes fell. I'm pretty sure there was 4, but the MCV got itself a kill. Not gonna obviously get rewarded for it, but you gotta be careful. Some bikes can do friendly damage. Now, a quick revision of this map. There are 2 blue Tiberium fields in the center. I keep forgetting this. I never managed to secure this tip first. I'm not sure when players decide to take it. If they just feel it's arbitrary, if they do it on 4 houses or 5. It's a long distance from your original base to go to that expansion tip field. So I think it's better to do later on. Some counter aggression happening here from Eclipse, who is picking yellow, green all the time, which is nice. These guys are continuing to pick their colors, except Rex, who probably isn't doing that. I remember having to change his color after each game in my last video that I made. Just a little bit of poking and prodding, nothing much. No game-breaking damage, though. That is unfortunate, though. Rex a little bit trigger-happy. using the reconstruction drones. Unless he has like a couple dev tanks to follow up here, I don't think it's worth committing so much to this push. I mean, the lightning spike is here, there's Force Seekers as well, but these Pred tanks, especially when reversed to the War Factory, can hold this back, and it's going to be a waste ultimately. $1,500 plus the lightning spike that didn't kill a whole lot else. This attack will be halted quite nicely. That doesn't leave Rex in a great position. Though having said that, Futurama doesn't have his 4th refinery down, but Rex as well not looking too good on his expansion. He does drop his 2nd ref on the same Tiberium field. Sometimes you see players drop one here and one here, but Rex opting to drop those 2 on the same Tib field. A decoy army coming in from Eclipse. Not a good engagement. A little bit of a lag spike there. Probably helped Space hold that off. Screen shake. Cool feature about this game. If there's a lot of DPS on screen, the screen will literally shake. I thought that's a really nice feature that they added. Attention to detail is great in this game. A lot of units on this tip field. Looks like there's some double team happening here. No response aside from these gunwalkers from Rex. There's some disintegrators rocking up. Maybe the stasis shield will be forced to be used. Rex with that attack did surrender a lot of the map. And Futurama buying himself so much time. He's got double War Factory. He's going APCs. He's going Predator tanks. There's some Bike Buggy here. Eclipse continuing to spam Bike Buggy. He's got decent income. Neither side taking the blue Tiberium. The blue Tiberium field. Thank you very much for the sub, Flaky. Thank you very much, man. But I think these guys are going to lose again, if I'm honest. I'm just going to be blunt with you all. That was a lot of delaying on Space's income. He hasn't been harvesting here for a while, and he's actually forgotten about his harvester. How does he come back from this, exactly? How does he come back from this? It's just... I don't know. Some disintegrators coming, but there's a hammerhead out for Futurama, so those are going to achieve nothing. This base push practically has to win the game here and now. The stasis shield was not used. The phase, however, was utilized to save Space's harvesters, but yeah, the one click does happen. And since they were already damaged, most of those harvesters did get destroyed in the refinery. Unfortunately, some AA turrets will be dropped. There's 4 tripods there with the shields. AA battery coming down. Maybe a commando right here would be great. Station shield will be coming in. Some rocket squads being deployed right here. Harvester will be sniped. Juggernaut right there. Maybe it's the time now to push in. Station shield on this force may be required. But it's up to Rex if he wants to do that or not. Another harvester will be claimed. Forces here will be taken out. There's not a lot of anti-infantry. Maybe the storm support power could come down on these rocket squads. Pretty sure that has not been used yet. Another Juggernaut does pop out from this War Factory. Space unable to do a lot. Harvesters being destroyed down here. The thing is... Eclipse did significant damage to Space. Space trying to claw his way back into this game. Rex has to try and thin this force out as much as he can. Predator tanks taking damage, but as soon as those Juggernauts start opening up on this force, it's going to be lights out for the tripods. 3 tripods fall there, only 1 remains. Reinforcing Scorpion tanks coming in from Eclipse. This tripod will be falling, and Rex will call the GG. Space not doing so well in this game. He was definitely the weak link in this one. So that's going to be it. GG. yet another point on the table for Eclipse and Futurama. That will make the score 3-1. So that's a good score line if you're a Eclipse and Futurama fan. I was expecting it to go the other way. So we are up 3-1 for Futurama and Eclipse. This game's pretty pivotal. You know, I purposely gave them 5 or 10 minutes because when you're behind 3-1, sometimes it's best to just stop the momentum and just give those guys, you know, a time to restart, because otherwise it can descend, it can become worse and worse for them. So, yeah, on the right-hand side here, we'll be playing as the red screen. It's going to be Rex. His ally, Space, going to be picking the yellow GDI. And Futurama will be playing as the GDI, as well as Eclipse playing as the green marked of Kane. Forgotten Forest is the map. Typically the top spawning player captures the 2 tip spikes. Rarely do you see players share the Tiberium spikes. It's always the top guy that goes for them. Not sure why exactly, what the thinking is behind it, but that's just how it is. Rex targets a tip crystal, probably by accident. Not going to do a whole lot though. You don't get XP from killing Tiberium. I mean, if you did, that would be pretty broken, wouldn't it? 1 tip spike will be falling though, for sure. There's no response to this. There's no radar buggy out, so this tip spike will probably be going down. That's going to pay for these 4 descents. The 4 descents here amounts to $1,200. 4 times 3, $1,200. I mean, I might not be the smartest mind in the world. My math may not be excellent, but I know enough to know that 4 times 3 is 12. And that's $1,200. And that's going to mean that in 2 minutes time, these descents would have technically paid for themselves with just that spike kill. 4 descents though here for Rex. He's going to move into this base. Two radar buggies. You know, Rex should have kept near to the garrison, because just moving them into the build radius of his opponent is just going to feed the descents for free. That was a mistake. Now this is an issue, because this Tiberium you see here, what will happen is when your harvesters deplete the field that they're currently harvesting, some of them, unless they're microed, will decide to take this Tiberium instead of go to the bottom if you don't rally them down there, and that can leave them vulnerable to attack from your opponent, which is a thing. It does happen a lot on Tournament Rift. And since this is a 2 versus 2 version of Tournament Rift, then it's essentially the same thing. I think it's larger though than the 1v1 map. This map seems to be extended a bit more compared to Tournament Rift. I think it was many years ago since this map was made. Did Predator not make this? If I'm not mistaken. Did he use a blur filter on the minimap? Or is that just a really bad resolution? That's an idea as well, to make units pop out more on there. I did not play around with the blurring, but that was one thing that was used here by Pred. Oh dear, looks like Rex almost forgot about his harvester. Does quickly amend that. I mean, there isn't much else happening on the map. 5 Seekers out for Rex. Some APC rockets for Space. One of those garrisoned up with a rifleman. They need to make something happen though with this attack, because it seems like they're the only faction that are going with early game units. Never mind, scratch that, because Eclipse does have some bike buggy. Those do get cleaned up though quite nicely by Rex. This is a much better opening for the team on the right. The team trailing in this series 3-1. Got a foxhole garrisoned up there. Quad turrets could be an upgrade that would be helpful if on the defense. $1,000, 30 seconds. It's almost always worth it if you have a tier 2. If you're not pursuing Scorpion tanks. Oh, what is this though? I think one of those is even a Pitbull. Can Pitbulls detect stealth when they're airborne? I don't think they can. I think Space is assuming that these will detect the harvesters, but they won't. This is such an unorthodox strategy. But the bike buggy will respond to this. One of those APCs likely will fall right away. One APC does go down, but the bikes will be paying for it with their lives. Well, maybe not quite. Evac does happen there. Space kind of trolling, not gonna lie. He needs to kill a harvester here. He needs to focus on this harvester. Not sure what he's doing. What is he focused on elsewhere? That's unfortunate. They were in a great position, and then, yeah, that happened. So, I mean, it's really up to Rex to bring this back. Space needs to untilt himself. It's actually $200 in Kane's draft for a transport. They reduced the cost in the expansion pack. Oh wow, Shard Seekers. Look at the number of Shard Seekers there. Holy crap. That is a lot of damage. Rarely do you see this. An army of Shards shielded Seekers moving. Oh no, not on the tip field. Not on the tip. Not on the tip field. Not on the tip field. Don't go on that tip field, man. Oh my god. Why? Why, man? Why? You saw the chemical plant there. How on earth do you make that mistake? This attack will be stalled slightly. Dev ship needs to come out. I'd like to see some packs, man. Oh my god, this rage is going to be brutal. It's going to be savage, but the tripods are already focusing on the MCV. Maybe not. Obelisk taking some shots on this. Is the shield almost done? Yes, that shield upgrade. It's taking an eternity to finish. It is 1 minute and 30 seconds, but it seems a lot longer when you need the shield upgraded at the instant. Devastator warship out. These EMPs are coming in clutch. And this is like masses of tripods being focused down just by like 1 or 2 awakened drafts. The Redeemer taking some damage. Some assimilators there as well. Obelisk does ultimately get dropped by Eclipse. He's trying to milk this as much as possible. I mean, good on Eclipse. He does kill himself like 5 tripods with 1 Redeemer and an Obelisk. That's very effective. Eclipse loses a lot of his army, but the tripod does get captured. That is nice work. 3-4 tripods were reclaimed. These trucks are a bit stranded. I think the tripods could run literally towards those. Looks like Space will pursue those down. AP ammo researched online for these hammerheads. A Venom up here for Eclipse. He will chase those down. Eclipse not doing too good on the economy side of things. As you can see, he's got half a field unharvested, but Futurama does have a base established up here Whereas Rex also has the same. Rex, I favor his position more, to be honest. I think some packs would be great. Packs right now, man, would be just the perfect unit. This ref snipe is a big deal. I think that Rex is going to carry this game. If he pulls these dev ships back and has an anti-air turret ready to save these warships, then that was definitely worth the trade. One warship falls, but it does deny the expansion briefly for Futurama. Another win picked up there by Rex. Snipes the Firehawk, snipes the Venom. And yeah, Eclipse now is just falling to bits. Maybe that smoke was a mistake. Despite getting double clicked, Space bringing it back over here with these Pred tanks. It seems almost like a 1v2 scenario. Futurama holding off 2 players, or trying to. The disruption tower gets dropped there. Cheap for the Marked of Kane. Only $500. Marv out for Space. He can put an assortment of units in there. He's got a zone trooper, he's got a rifleman, a missile squad. Essentially everything bar the commando you can put in the Marv, which is really nice. Gives you a lot of options. Though you don't want to put riflemen in there if you can help it, because the range is pretty bad. Infantry outranges the Marv, even with the rifleman turret. Nice pick up there. The harvesters get sniped, and Rex does the smart thing, pulls back. I don't think he even needs to micro, because he does have I was about to say he had a mastermind, but it seemed like he lost it. So that is unfortunate. And yeah, 2 epic units coming in here, enlightened squads, but they're just supporting units. They're not really made to counter an army like this. And this Marv, it has quad engineer. There's actually 1 zone trooper, but that's going to be very hard to deal with. Hexbot also generating resources for each kill. And there's Devastator warships to reinforce more of those dev ships moving forward. Futurama has been defeated. Eclipse will have no choice but to surrender in this game. And it seems like the Russians... I'm speaking of the Russians, man. What is going on in this chat of mine?